And welcome into another edition of Beyond the Endzone. It's been a minute. I know I've been out on the road, obviously, with the whole Ole Miss coverage, and then we're back now, and I got a week off. So, but it's good to be back. A lot of stuff is happening in sports, but before we get into any of that, I want to send my best wishes and prayers and condolences to all of those that have been impacted here in Mississippi by the bad cold weather, as well as the country. It's been pretty crazy to see. Just wanted to start that with this episode with that, because that's real life. You know, sports is kind of that time we get to relax and unwind and disconnect and enjoy our favorite teams. But when you see something like this, it puts some things in reality. So just wanted to send my condolences to get this thing started. But we got a jam-packed show, so let's get right into it. Obviously, pretty much the biggest news right now in the state when it comes to what's next, big question marks. I know a lot of people are very curious about this. We're keeping our ear on the ground. Is the situation with Trinidad Chambliss? He now has a court date in just a couple weeks, or less than a couple weeks at this point now. It's on February 12th. We did have a story on this, and if you did miss it from earlier in this week, I did want to make it very clear what this situation is, when the court date is, and let you know exactly what you can expect here. We will be out there on the 12th. So I just want to go ahead and show y'all this right here. Let's get right into it, and then we'll break down a little bit more about the situation. We've already talked about why he's putting in this lawsuit and why he's asked for an extra year of eligibility. Let's get right into it. I wanted to show y'all the latest update we have on this court date. Oh, excuse me, y'all. 1 second. Here we go.
Game continues for Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss on an appeal to the NCAA regarding his eligibility for next season. An important court date has been set that could make the NCAA's decision on that appeal null. Chambliss sued the NCAA and Chancery Court of Lafayette County on January 16th, seeking an extra year of eligibility after multiple denied requests, with the most recent denial on January 9th. And now, a hearing for a preliminary injunction has been scheduled in just 2 weeks on February 12th at 9:30 a.m. in the Calhoun County Courthouse. This case stems from the medical issues he faced at Ferris State during the 2022 season, including chronic tonsillitis. New court filings include a statement from his former physician at Ferris State, Dr. Anthony Howard, who concluded with, "Based on the documented clinical history and treatment course, I fully support Mr. Chambliss's request for an additional year of NCAA athletic eligibility." He go on to state, his chronic tonsillitis represents a medically valid basis for hardship consideration, as his condition rendered him incapacitated and unable to participate in the 2022 season. Other filings included statements from Ferris State football coach Tony Anise and Senior Associate Athletic Director Sarah Higley, who both believe Chambliss deserves the extra year. Higley highlighted the disparity between athletic divisions. For Division II student athletes, they had 10 semesters for 4 seasons of competition, while Division I operates on a continuous 5-calendar-year clock. The university does not believe Chambliss should lose a season of competition due to his transfer to Division I. She stated, Ferris State strongly recommends that the NCAA grant Trinidad Chambliss an extension of eligibility, allowing him to compete for his 4th and final season at Ole Miss. This waiver would ensure equitable treatment and enable Trinidad to fulfill his athletic potential without being disadvantaged by the transition between division levels. 3 on Your Side will be in attendance on February 12th to cover this developing case. Nathan Lee, WLBT Sports.
So that was the latest that we got earlier in this week. Those new files that came in on Monday and Tuesday that were put into this lawsuit. Obviously, saw some of those statements from the people back at Ferris State. And there was that one shot at the end of the in that package when he was hugging that guy in the crowd. That was actually his coach at Ferris State. It's a crazy situation. We've been trying our best to keep y'all as up to date as possible. Obviously, the next big date is on February 12th. Now, I did want to give a little bit more of an outline here on exactly, what he has dealt with. And if you didn't watch the show about a couple of weeks ago, we did kind of lay out what was in this lawsuit, but I wanted to give a quick little update on that right here. Let's get right into it. So the suit outlines a series of medical complications that kept him on the field dating back to 2017. When he was exposed to Epstein-Barr virus and contracted mono. The illness led to ongoing issues that followed him into his college career. After enrolling at Ferris State in 2021, Chambliss's lawsuit states that medical and physical incapacity, like the doctor said in his most recent statement, prevented him from training, resulting in a redshirt season. He was later diagnosed with that chronic tonsillitis in 2022 and ultimately underwent surgery to remove his tonsils in December 2024 after continued medical setbacks. The filing includes medical documentation from Chambliss's primary physician at the time. Y'all saw one of his statements, Dr. Anthony Howard. Now, it was 91 pages worth of medical documentation that was in the lawsuit. Now, Chambliss's legal team, they argued that the NCAA's denial of his waiver request was a bad faith, unreasonable, and arbitrary decision, and claims he would suffer irreparable financial harm without an additional year of eligibility. Now, this is a very, like I said, interesting situation. I don't want to get too much into the weeds with it. Obviously, if you're Chambliss, getting that 4th year would be incredible. The financial, component is real here because, you hear these numbers that are going thrown out if he were to come back to Ole Miss compared to, he's not a first-round pick at this point in the NFL draft. So the money would be different. It would be much different. But that's the latest we got on that. Just wanted to bring y'all that latest update. We also have another situation developing in Oxford. Don't want to get too much into this one, but it is very interesting in we're seeing it around the college football realm. It's not even just college football, just college sports, if we're being completely honest, with these new tampering allegations. Now, these are complete allegations. We don't know if they're true, but they have been out there, been put out on publications. And it's such a, they do it. Then they keep blaming each other. Now we're starting to see some coaches get a little bit more, make their voices pretty clear on this situation that we need some more rules. But let's get into this situation now out there in Oxford. One thing we do want to hit on, we're hearing more about those allegations of tampering in college football, which is such an interesting topic in itself. Like I said, last week we heard from Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney. He went viral with his statements, making them very clear, and these allegations discuss the need for more rules in place on tampering. The serious allegations Swinney arrived in the wake of former Cal linebacker Luke Farrelly. He committed to the Tigers and signed with the Tigers out of the transfer portal before re-entering the portal and joining the Rebels. Now, yesterday, the latest team to call out Ole Miss was Fresno State in their pursuit of 6-year senior wide receiver Josiah Freeman, claiming they have receipts, conversations, text messages between Ole Miss and Freeman. Very, very, very interesting. Now, I know a lot of people did see some of those comments from Dabo Swinney about this. It was a very long press conference. He laid out a lot of things, but I did want to bring out one thing that really kind of, I want to bash Ole Miss on this situation because it's not just them. Ole Miss even made a claim, earlier in the year that LSU was doing the same thing to them. So it's a battle between these teams. But this is what Dabo Swinney had to say about the situation.
I've had a lot of people reach out with their stories. And so I want to challenge all of those coaches that have reached out to me. I want to challenge all of them. You need to step up and call it out. Otherwise, don't complain. You either step up and you be an example to young coaches in this profession and be people of integrity, or just shut your mouth and don't complain again. That's what I would say to all the coaches out there, because I know this has happened and we're never going to get this under control until we start having some consequences. We're just not.
It's very true, and once again, I just want to make it clear that this is not just Ole Miss, and these are allegations. They are being investigated. Now, we talk about these tampering rules, bylaw 13114. That exists prohibiting coaches and staff from contacting athletes enrolled at another institution before they enter the transfer portal, but it's hard to enforce in modern college sports. Let's be honest. Once again, these are allegations. The NCAA, like I said, is investigating these matters, not just Ole Miss. We're hearing about other tampering, allegations around college sports, and we will continue to update you on this. If true or not, I think we can all agree, though, that we definitely need to see some more rules, not just for these players, for these coaches. I don't want to rewind the clock too much, but the whole Lane Kiffin situation, I don't think that should be happening in the middle of a season. Let's get something like the NFL. This is a professional sport. If y'all, watch consistently, I've said that. College football, specifically, we're seeing it in other major college sports, but college football specifically, it's the second biggest sport in America. It is professional. These kids are getting paid a lot of money to play football. Let's have professional rules. That's one of many issues I have with the NCAA. Y'all know my feelings on that, but just wanted to bring out the update on that. All allegations. Not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but it is out there in publications and on social media. Just wanted to kind of bring y'all the latest on that. Now I want to get into something that was I don't get mad about a lot of things, especially if they don't, they're not about my team or anything. But this one was a consensus in the entire football world, entire sports world. I mean, we saw celebrities, athletes, and other sports talk about Bill Belichick getting snubbed from the Hall of Fame. Now, I know there is a lot of Spygate, Deflategate, all these situations that have been a part of Bill Belichick's career. I don't care, man. Eight-time winning Super Bowl coach, 6 times as a head coach. I mean, come on, but let's get right into it. This was a situation that I can't even wrap my mind around, right? But let's get into it. In voting earlier this month, Belichick fell short of 40 out of 50 votes. That's how much you need to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame during his first year of eligibility. The biggest thing here, first ballot. Bill Belichick, somehow the best coach of all time, arguably, I think he is not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, this was all this information, these sources were coming out of ESPN. Bill Belichick received a call from a Hall representative on Friday afternoon last week with the news that he will not be inducted in Canton, Ohio this summer. Now, I'm not going to get too much into this. It's already frustrated me enough. I think everyone's made their opinions pretty clear on this situation, but it's disrespectful. It makes the Hall of Fame look bad. It's like, does it matter then, right? Who are these voters? We're starting to see who it is. Some of the people are coming out saying, this is my reason why I didn't vote for him. And I just, I cannot wrap my mind around it. It makes zero sense. Don't get mad about a lot of things in sports, especially if they're not involved with my team, like I said. But this one, genuinely, when I saw this alert come up on my phone and on Twitter, I said, what? I texted everybody. I texted every single person I possibly knew that knew sports, and it was 100% in agreement. No matter if you like the guy, hate the guy, love the guy, didn't think that he should be going to North Carolina this whole last 2 years of his, bad PR, to put it nicely. That doesn't matter. He's still the second winningest head coach in NFL history, right? If he stayed a couple more years, he would probably got that record. So it makes no sense, but I did want to hit on that, give my brief opinions on that. Frustrating, very, very, very frustrating. All right, let's get into the college basketball update now, though. This one, here we go, y'all. We had some big stuff. Now, I do want to get into a couple of things here. obviously due to that weather up there in Oxford. The men's Ole Miss Vanderbilt basketball game, the men's game has been rescheduled and changed locations to Nashville, and that will now tip off on Saturday at 5 p.m. Currently, right now, Ole Miss is taking on Vanderbilt in women's basketball, number 5 versus number 17. Ole Miss had a big lead, but it has gotten to a 1-point game with less than 3 minutes in this one. Ole Miss does have that 1-point lead still. They lost the lead. They just regained it. So I can't wait to see how that one finishes. What a win that would be for Ole Miss. You know, that women's team, they have some amazing wins, and then they had that tough game against Georgia. So this would be amazing for them to stay high up in those SEC standings in women's basketball. But let me tell you, college basketball is swinging a hot bat this week. Specifically on Tuesday, we saw one of the craziest days in all of sports, if I'm being completely honest. This was insane. I'm pulling it up right here. You see all these finals, right? All of these finals. 6 AP ranked teams overcame double-digit deficits on Tuesday, the most over the last 8 seasons. We'll talk about them right here. Michigan. Number 3, Michigan. They trailed by 11 to number 6, Nebraska, and won, handing the Cornhuskers actually their first loss of the year. They were undefeated coming into that game. What a massive game that was. Michigan is very, very good this year. Number 7, Michigan State. They were down 12 to Rutgers, and they won. Number 15, Arkansas trailed 13 to Oklahoma, and they won. Number 21, St. Louis. They trailed by 15 to George Washington University, and they won. Number 17, Virginia. They trailed by 19 to Notre Dame and won. And last but not least, I did kind of jump around that graphic. Sorry about that, y'all. But number 24, Miami, Ohio. They still remain undefeated. Trailed by 10 to they trailed by 10 to UMass, and then they won. So what a week it was so far for college basketball. We're getting into that time. I love college basketball. I love college baseball, women's basketball. It's that time of year. We're almost done with football. It's almost gone. Can y'all believe that? One last game, and that is how we're gonna close out this episode here for today. What a game we have next Sunday in the Super Bowl. Yes, indeed, we have it. It is here. Super Bowl 60 is right around the corner. The Seahawks take on the Patriots, both teams 14-3, seasons that are just so impressive for these two teams. I mean, comparing to where they were last year, you know, I know Seahawks they were a pretty good team, but they needed a little bit of change, new quarterback, and man, the Patriots, what can you say about Mike Vrabel and Drake May? Unreal. Now, I'm not going to give a game pick on this one since we still have a week to go, and I'm not quite ready to pick a team in this one. I know a lot of people are saying the Seahawks are going to walk away with this one super easy, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this is going to be a really good game between two elite coaches, man. I think that is a big part of this, but when we look at this game, I kind of want to break it down just a little bit. I know we're going to be talking about Drake May versus Sam Darnold. Can the young buck get his first Super Bowl ring at 23 years old, or can Sam Darnold have one of the craziest football journeys ever and secure a Super Bowl ring after all that he has been through, man? You know, and there's still doubt. Somehow he has his best game in the NFC Championship of his entire career, and there's still doubt somehow. Even though a lot of people are picking the Seahawks, and you can see in that spread right now, Seahawks are 4.5-point favorites, 45.5 over under. Excuse me, as I cough on screen here. Yes. So, excuse me. Sorry, my eyes might water a little bit there, but kind of let's get into this. We only got a little bit time left here before 4 o'clock. So I want to talk about this game and what I'm looking at. Like I said, you're looking at these quarterbacks. You might look at these receivers versus the corners. You know, I love the secondary for both of these teams. Marcus Jones over there for the Patriots. That dude's just a game breaker. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The rookie out there in Seattle. Safety, he's unbelievable. Not even talking about Job and Witherspoon and all the corners that they have out there. I mean, they have more than they need probably. But what I'm really looking at in this game, and if you know me, it's the trenches. That's what I'm looking at. And I usually say which offensive line is going to do better. Technically, I am saying that, but I think it's whichever defensive line wins this game. Because, man, let's just talk about what we have, the talent on these defensive lines. Let's get right into these there we go. Yeah, let's get into those highlights here. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks defensive line. And, man, when you look at the talent on this team, and specifically their front seven, it's unreal. Edge edges. DeMarcus Lawrence, he's still doing his thing. Leonard Williams and linebacker Nwosu, excuse me. Those are the guys on the outside technically, but they do play on the inside, the interior of the defensive line at times, especially Williams will. But what about Lawrence? Like I said, this guy, we thought he didn't have much left in the tank, and he's coming out here in the postseason so far with 2 sacks. I mean, he's made his presence felt already. Byron Murphy and Jaron Reed, they are the guys in the interior, and man, they're a force. Good luck running against them. I genuinely encourage you to go watch back some of that tape in that matchup against the Rams. Watch Murphy, man. This guy was a menace against the Rams. He had some of these crazy moves against the run. They call it a drop leg, I think. It's like they think you're down, but you get back up and you make the tackle. It's unbelievable. He's a former Longhorn. He's a part of that really good Texas defensive line a couple of years ago. Pass rush and stopping the run, they're very elite overall. And this Seattle's defense has been just so special. Mike McDonald is a defensive genius and has those guys playing at a championship level. But now let's get into some of the Patriots talk here in the defensive line for them. I got to highlight one guy first. Milton Williams. This guy right here, he was going to go to Carolina, if you don't remember, in the offseason. He comes to the Patriots, and he has been, wow, just that's it, man. He has made a name for himself, probably a good bit of money as well. And if you watch the game, you'll see him all over the place. So Milton Williams, he's going to have a really big impact in this game. Then you look at the other guys as well, like a Christian Barmore, Corey Durden, Kayvon Chason from LSU. He kind of bounced around the league, and now he's found himself an incredible spot out there in New England. And in Tonga, you probably saw him a couple times against the Broncos. That was impressive to see him make a bunch of plays. Big guy in the middle, and man, they do such a good job. And when you look at the Seahawks, right, they do a good job against the run. We saw that for the Patriots in moments. The snow definitely played a big factor into that game offensively. But with Charbonnet out for the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker, he's going to be the guy. He's going to get a lot of carries. Does that play a factor? Does that play a major factor in this one? You're going to have some got to have fresh legs in there. So those are kind of those things I'm looking at right now. We're getting some new information here. But like I said, next week we will have a game pick on this one. Cannot wait. We'll have full broadcast, obviously, on Sunday after the game. So cannot wait to bring you all of that. But one last thing before we get out of here, because at 4 o'clock, we're actually going to have Governor Reeves talk more about the storm. It's going to be his latest presser on the situation there. But right before we get out of here, some new stuff, new info on salary cap in the NFL for next season. The NFL, this is per Tom Pelissero. The NFL informed clubs today it is projecting a range of $301 million to $305 million of salary cap in 2026. That is per sources of his. That is a massive jump. We've seen it every single year. This is not something that's crazy, but $179 million compared to last year, and that's $100 million more now than in 2022. So the business, it's unstoppable. This is incredible to see for the NFL, the money that they're bringing in. I'm imagining about 150 million people watching the Super Bowl. Can't wait to watch that game. And next week we'll have a little bit more on that, as well as more in college basketball. College baseball is right around the corner, so football is right out. It was about done with. So I can't wait to talk more about other sports, and obviously we will continue to bring you more updates on Trinidad Chambliss, as well as that other situation happening out there in Oxford. But that's all for now. I got to get out of here. Stay tuned right here if you want to hear more from Governor Reeves in just a couple minutes. But once again, I am Nathan Lee for Beyond the End Zone. I will see y'all next week.